Alright guys, hope you're doing well, hope you all had a good weekend and are keeping safe of course. So I guess the first question is, based on the title, who said there's going to be a Division 3? Secondly, what's this rumour all about? And thirdly, if we are getting a Division 3, should it have PvP? 3 questions, all of which I'm going to cover in today's video. Please feel free to leave your thoughts on PvP in the Division 3 in the comments down below. And with that said, drop a like and let's begin. Let's get the first 2 questions out of the way. So I only thought about making this video due to a post on the official Ubisoft forums for the Division 2 titled "Rumours are going around that the Division 3 will not have PvP. Please don't let this be." I added the B part at the end for it to make sense. Otherwise it would have just ended at "please don't this." So looking through the content of this post, apparently there's a rumour going around between streamers and YouTubers that someone overheard a Ubisoft employee say, if Heartland is a success, then it's possible the Division 3 won't need PvP. Not that I should be included in such rumours, but I've heard nothing about this at all. I did ask around a little bit before making this video, and no one that I spoke to has heard of this either, so I'm not sure exactly who, what streamers or YouTubers have been talking about this. As always, especially with this one, guys, take this with the tiniest grain of salt. There's been 0 indications that we're even getting a Division 3, albeit likely we will at some point in the distant future, not anytime soon for sure. So that's the rumour going around, apparently. That's what I wanted to cover today. The good thing is, if we are getting a Division 3 in the next, I would probably say 3 to 5 years, then in the next couple of years, the game will begin development. So it's worth talking about PvP and whether or not the Division 3 should abandon PvP altogether. I know this is going to be a sensitive topic for many, especially the wider community. I know there's a lot of YouTubers and streamers who love PvP in the Division, even in its current state. So yeah, you can argue and all that stuff in the comments down below. Don't mind that stuff, but just be as respectful as possible, please. That would be appreciated. So firstly, I did do or did have a poll for this one on my YouTube community page. So feel free to go and vote there. You will need to subscribe to get involved in that, so please do. Right, so PvP, where do I start? Now, I don't PvP in the Division 2. Most of you will already know that. If you're new to my channel, well, there you go. I think I'm like conflict level 10 or something, and I think I'm like level 30 in the Dark Zone maybe. Whatever the case is, it's clear from my levels in both that I don't play PvP. I mean, I actually did quite a bit, well, a little bit, when the game launched. As it was new, right? But it's been a good 2 years since I really played either conflict or really go in the Dark Zone, and I think that's probably the case for most people who used to play PvP in the Division but don't in the Division 2. At this point, I don't think that I qualify to talk about the issues with PvP in the Division 2, so I'm not going to try and do that. But what I will say is there's a reason most people have stopped playing PvP. And it's not because it's the best PvP in gaming, right? It's obviously the opposite of that. It's not a very good experience from what I've seen. I mean, it was bad when I played it 2 years ago, and I think it's still pretty bad now from what I've heard. Mainly because I think the devs just went a completely different direction with PvP this time around, focusing more on a competitive type of PvP experience, and I just think overall that's a bad move. I remember when they announced Team Deathmatch, I think it was in Title Update 6 possibly, and I think most people were just kind of left with their mouths open like, WTF, because this went completely against the majority of what the community were asking for, which was PvP that was fun. I think up to this point people were saying, bring back the instant heals and stuff like that. Stuff that made the gameplay fast. Stuff that made it more fun. Rather than this kind of competitive experience. So I think I speak for the majority when I say, and have said, since the Division 2 launched, they have to bring back the fun if their intention is to have PvP in the next installment, if there is a next installment, of course. Alright, so The Division PvP was broke. It was fun though. I think most people will agree with that. And the Division 2 PvP is broken, but it's not fun. And has no content. So, what's the correlation between the two? You guessed it. They're both broke, right? And that's even more concerning when you consider that in the Division 2 they can make changes to talents, weapons, and everything else just for PvP, separate to the PvE experience, something they couldn't do in the Division. Now, I know they don't always do that. In fact, if you go on the forums now and have a look at any topic surrounding nerfs and buffs in PvE and PvP, a lot of people will say, well, you know, they buffed this in PvP, but it's had an impact in PvE. So even when they can separate it, there is a problem there still with balancing, which causes changes in either one to affect the other one still. There is a reason a lot of people are skeptical about Heartlands, because Redstorm are making it. They're the developers of Heartlands, and they were the developers of PvP in both Division games. So I think they've probably got a right to be skeptical when you look at the Division 2 PvP experience. And in fact, just the Division PvP experience as a whole in terms of the mess that it has been for so long. Now at this point, I realise I've done nothing but kind of talk bad about PvP in the Division. That's pretty easy to do because there isn't a whole lot you can say good about it. So you'd probably think that I'd be happy with no PvP in the Division 3. Well, it's not that simple. Now, I really enjoyed the Dark Zone experience in the Division during the early days of its launch because it was raw, there was some great loot, and I guess it was kind of this new thing that I'd never really seen in gaming at that point. And I think a lot of people will agree. Anyone who enjoyed the Dark Zone in the Division, who don't play the Division 2 anymore, will say that the Dark Zone was probably good. Now, over time, it did lose that spark a little bit, as does most things. But I'd always enjoy going in there. And I think the community who liked the Dark Zone did too as well. It never really lost. You never really went in there and were just kind of like, I'm going to go, I need to get out of here right away. That's kind of the feeling I get in the Division 2 for many reasons. But I never really got that in the Dark Zone in the Division. Plus, you know, the atmosphere was just amazing, right? And I think a lot of people miss that from the Dark Zone. Now, Last Stand was always fun for me as well. I spent the majority of my time in there sniping, as a few YouTubers will know about, running some crazy builds as well, and just really kind of just having fun in PvP, and the same for Conflict as well. I did enjoy that experience. Overall, whilst the Division PvP was not perfect, what game is, it was really fun. Now, I don't really have any kind of bad memories from it, except for a couple of times when there was, you know, completely busted things like the one-shot Seeker meta, for example. I think there was also another meta. I can't remember what it was. It almost made me quit the Division at one point, actually. So there's always been a balancing issue, but overall, the Division PvP, the Dark Zone and Last Stand and stuff, was actually fun for the most part, which is why a lot of people kept playing it. That's why I spent most of my time in PvP. I didn't really play much of the PvE experience in the Division at all. So, on the other hand, the Division 2 PvP all but killed the PvP experience for me. And so it's not for me as simple as a yes or no. Also, I wouldn't want any development of PvP to affect the PvE experiences either, which might happen. So when I think about it, the answer is actually quite easy. If Ubisoft can manage to give us the PvP from the Division with all the fun and laughs minus the one-shot metas, with the Division 2 PvE experience minus the one-shot red bar NPCs, then yes, I think I want PvP in the Division 3 because I still want a looter shooter, right? I think I've said this before. I don't want a story-driven third-person game for the Division 3. That's just not my cup of tea, even though I know a lot of people would like that. So that's just my selfish take. If Ubisoft can only deliver a really good PvP experience but at the expense of PvE, then no, I don't want it. So that's kind of my answer, really. And just before I end the video, guys, I've checked the poll, and 65% of you, I think it's actually 68% of you, think it would be a good idea to not have PvP in the Division 3. And I just think that says something about how bad the Division 2 PvP really is. Because I guarantee you, if I run that poll, 2 years into the Division, then I guarantee it wouldn't be anywhere near that. In fact, I think it would be the other way. I think they would be happy to have PvP in the next one. as long as it wasn't broken, of course. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching today's video. If you stick around all the way to the end of this one, I really appreciate it. Next video will likely be either Wednesday or Thursday now, unless some news comes out in between. So I'll see you then. Epic out.